Thank you for viewing this YouTube archive of a Conscious Consumer Network broadcast. Please feel free to share it far and wide. Check out our weekly broadcast guide for weekly updates on scheduled broadcasts. Help keep us on the air by contributing to our network support fund. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter or get in touch via email. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Welcome, everybody, to the next edition of Now in Zen with your host, Zen Gardner. I'm very honored this week to have another amazing guest, the amazing Mike Williams from Sage of Quay Radio, an accomplished not only radio host, very popular and very well respected and regarded amongst researchers and people in the truth community. But he's also a very accomplished musician, and he's got a very interesting other practice that he'll be telling you about in a little bit. But I asked Mike because I find him so intriguing. We've become very dear friends after a few interviews together and having common friends. And I thought this would be a really good chance for him to be on the other side of the microphone, as he put it. And we could have some fun getting to know him and maybe even play some music today. Mike's written some amazing songs, one of which goes right along with one of my recent articles that he sent me, and we keep playing it around the house. It's just a fabulous tune. So he's going to be making a YouTube of it. But Mike's coming from the East Coast of the U.S., and I'm happy to introduce him. And it's an honor to know you, brother, and it's really love our growing friendship. And thanks for coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Zen, for having me on. It's an honor.
This is really neat. Love your backdrop, man.
Yeah, thank you.
You're coming from the coasts of Kyoto.
No, it's the coast of North Carolina.
I don't think you want to be in Kyoto right now. That place is literally cracking up.
Yep.
So listen, just so people can get to know you, I'm sure regular listeners who follow my website, they've heard my interviews with you. We've had a few of them together, and they've always been very engaging, and I've always enjoyed them terrifically. But and hopefully they've got to listen to other of your interviews, because you have amazing guests and very insightful, very perceptive, very intelligent show. And but maybe share a little bit about your journey, and also in light of how you woke up to, a brighter, wider consciousness, and the different things, your art, your trade that you do now as well, and a little bit about yourself so people can get to know you a little bit.
Well, I was born into a Roman Catholic family. I'll start there. And it's interesting. I never felt comfortable with it, much to the chagrin of my mom. I had a great childhood. Mom and dad were great. I don't really think or feel like I ever missed anything in my life. We weren't wealthy by any stretch. Dad had to work 2 jobs. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. So we had a very good family life. And around the age of 14 or 15, I started playing guitar. And I was self-taught. I just went out. I loved the Beatles, so I would go out and buy these Beatle books, and in the beginning, these song books, I didn't know how to play these chords, so I had to struggle through it. And
Right.
We didn't have internet back then, so in order for you to learn things, you had to buy more books.
That's right. That's right.
Friends to teach you. And went to college, and after college, I worked in a major corporation, multinational corporation, and I was there for over 30 years then.
Wow.
And so I was, I was in the matrix for a very large portion of my life.
Mm-hmm.
I bought into a lot of the stuff that many people still buy into. And that's why, for me, after I had the awakening, it's very easy for me to have a baseline, to have a point of reference, because it's not like I was always awake per se. I was, like I said, I was stuck in the matrix. And so during the latter part of my corporate life, I would say probably the last 10 years, I started seeing things that I really cut across the grain with regard to empathy, compassion, humanity. I started seeing it was more and more where people really didn't count anymore. You know, people were essentially commodities. They are cans of corn on a shelf in a supermarket.
Mm-hmm.
So what had happened? What had happened was back around the 2006 time period, about 10 years ago. I haven't told this story too often, and it's a true story. So some people are going to be thinking this guy is crazy. But
Yeah.
I was going to bed at night, and all of a sudden, I would be seeing these lights when I would close my eyes, and I wasn't asleep. And they were these drifting lights that they were just flittering and drifting all over. And at first, it just started as that. And the lights were like a white color, and sometimes I would see a blue. And as more time went on, then what happened was the lights would shift and they would morph into a scene. So the scene might be people,
Wow.
It might be buildings, it might be, a picture of something. And
Like the full screen, or like in small little screens where the lights were?
in small little screens where the lights were. So, and it would be
Wow.
in the distance. So what would happen is
Wow.
I would be looking, and it was very clear from a distance, but it was so distant that I was unable to make out what it was. But I found it obviously very intriguing. It was very entertaining.
I'll say.
So one evening, going to bed, the same thing, and close my eyes, and all of a sudden, this light is coming from a distance, and it's coming, and it's coming closer and closer and closer. And then it got to the point where, as it was getting closer, it was morphing into a face, and then it stopped right in front of me.
Wow.
And it was a very bright white light emanating from this face, and the face was stoic. I want to say that the facial features were very Roman, Greek, philosopher type of look, beard.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember looking at this vision and thinking to myself, what is this? And I also remember having a feeling of total bliss and just total comfort and love just coming, waving right through my body, just flowing through my body. So there was a voice. It was telepathic. And the voice said, it's time. And of course, now, folks, I'm not asleep, okay? So I want you to make sure this is not a dream.
Right.
I'm not asleep. And I said, time for what? And he said to me, it's time. And they just left it at that. And then there was, again, this whole wave of just love, unconditional love, just flowing and waving through my body. And then as soon as that face had materialized, it pulled back and disappeared.
Wow.
This is going back about 10 years ago. And it was at that time, well, let me just back up a second. Then I got out of bed and I thought to myself, what did I just see? What happened? I thought to myself, did I just see God?
Mm-hmm.
Well, from that point forward, a whole lot of things changed in my life. So my whole set of priorities, where I was, the road I was on in life, the whole corporate world, all that stuff began to change like that. It was almost instantaneous. So I had gotten into, I was into for a long time, reading about paranormal, reading about near-death experience. I was always very interested in NDEs. And I bought a book. It was called Memories of the Afterlife by Michael Newton, and I was on Amazon, and it was a pre-order, and I was looking for NDE books. It's hard to find good ones. And so Amazon said, well, you're looking for this. You might like this book. And I had no idea who Michael Newton was. I had no idea what his work was, and so on. Well, to make a long story short, the book shows up like 2 or 3 weeks later. It was a pre-order. And it's about reincarnation, about past life regression, past life experiences, and life between lives. And I knew nothing about this stuff. Like I knew what reincarnation was, but I never gave any thought whatsoever. I just knew what it was and I would move on.
Right.
Well, I read the book, Zen, and it's 32 case studies. Michael Newton had done something like 7,000 sessions.
Wow.
And in his 7,000 sessions, he had compiled an amazing set of criteria and findings with regard to past life, and the fact that we're able to tap into those memories and those experiences in altered state of consciousness. In this case, it would be hypnosis. And after I read the book, I think I read the book in 2 or 3 days, 32 case studies. I said, I have to have one of those sessions. And I went to go have a past life experience and also the next type of session, which is called Life Between Lives. That's where you go into very, very deep trance state and you go to the spirit world where you can interact with your soul groups, your guides, your council of elders, and so on. It's like many people have described ayahuasca experiences. I can relate it to something like that. It's very similar in that sense. It's amazing where you go and what you see. So it was after those 2 sessions that when I left them, I was mind boggled. I really was. I thought to myself, this is amazing, amazing stuff. And you're not making it up. A lot of people like to say you're making it up. You're not. I mean, because you would have to have constructed memory. And the sessions are so fluid. They're so spontaneous that, you wouldn't have an opportunity to construct that and get it done in 2 hours or 3 hours, and then have it all tie out at the end. In other words, a storyline was built with lessons and messages that you were supposed to receive from the spiritual world, from the divine. It was after that I decided that I wanted to do that type of work. And in order to do that type of work, I had to get certified in hypnosis. So I went off in late 2009, the early part of 2010, and I became certified in hypnosis. I'm a certified master hypnotherapist, and I also am a Reiki master. I had received my Reiki attunements about the same time, and that's another interesting story because I knew nothing really about Reiki, and all of a sudden there was this little voice in my head that said, you really need to go look at Reiki. You need to go take a look at that and you need to go do that. And I have to say, Zen, that it was 2 of the best decisions I've ever made in my life.
Beautiful.
And as I was going through that whole rebirth of my spirituality, that's really what it was. It was plugging me back into the divine.
Yes.
In a nutshell, that's what was going on. That's when the curtains got pulled aside and I really started to dive into alternative research, conspiracy research, into spirituality, all of that. Everything that I do my shows on, everything that I put up on the blog, it was a total awakening. It was as if I was given a new set of eyes to see things, and I never looked back. And it's been that way ever since. So that's my life in 10 minutes.
That's a beautiful story, man. That had me almost in chills. One of those kind of very deeply resonant experiences. I feel like I'm having it with you the way you describe it. It's beautiful. It's amazing how people get woken up by these types of experiences. But it's interesting because my 5th level awakening, as I call it, started right around the same time as yours. And I got sucked back in. I got into this sales job and made a lot of money. But that was my 6 or 7 years in a world I'd never tasted before because I was always off the map, off the charts, doing something alternative. So that was a life I had to live to understand what I understand now, similar to your 30 years. But it's fascinating that these technologies caught your attention. What strikes me when listening to you explain this so eloquently, by the way, is you said yes. That's what it's all about. I believe a lot more people get these signals, whether it be dreams or seeing angels or ETs or whatever, and they withdraw in fear. They don't accept the signal. And you were clearly being called, your soul responded, and you didn't understand it. None
Right.
of us, we still don't understand it. And I've had that type of experience, and I'm learning that saying yes, an unconditional yes, obviously to the right source, is really the most liberating thing you can ever do. To say, okay, I'll go, I'll go where I'm supposed to go, and I'm not going to say no. I did that for too long, or I hesitated and missed the boat or missed the bus. But it's just beautiful. It's so gentle the way you explain that. So how long have you been doing hypnotherapy and Reiki?
6 years as a hypnotherapist and Reiki. So the practice is very healthy. It started off like anything else. I was a newbie, and I had to get the experience built up and, continue to fine tune my skills. But I specialize in spiritual regression. I also do, I should say, clinical sessions like smoking cessation and weight loss, and stress and phobias and anxiety and stuff like that. But my real love is to take people into very deep trance state and have them have that expanded consciousness session where they can go in and they can go back into a past life, or they can go into the spirit world and they can connect with their guides, they can connect with loved ones, they can connect with their council of elders and so on.
Yes.
Because these are the types of experiences that open the aperture for folks. And when folks, when my clients after the sessions end, many of them will say, wow, that was unbelievable. Was that even real? And I said, well, how did it feel to you? And many times it's the best way, I guess, to describe it is for a lot of folks, it's like a lucid dream where they're navigating, they're going from here to there. And as I mentioned before, it's not constructed memory. It's coming spontaneously. It's flowing in. And if I use a past life session as an example, all of the memories and the experiences and the scenes that are shown to a client in a past life regression session, they're all connected and they all tie out at the end. And then when you pass away, when you cross over in that past life and you go to the spirit world, you do a review with your guide. And it's amazing how these past life experiences, these sessions, help a client to better navigate their current life. It illuminates their current life path, because if somebody's walking around, they're saying, I don't understand, life is very difficult. Why am I always having trouble trying to better my life or dig out financially, or why are my relationships so challenging and so on? The guides will take you back to a life basically saying, well, if you think this is hard, let me show you what you did, and let me show what happened when you persevered.
Wow.
You got through it.
Wow.
And you developed and you became stronger. And the truth of the matter is, our incarnating here on Earth, and I call Earth, it's a school of much higher education. It's soul development at the end of the day. That does not mean that we don't take on the challenges, because we have to take on the challenges that confront us. But folks also need to understand that you're developing your soul. Your soul needs that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience in order for the soul to develop and go to the next level.
This is beautiful. This so dovetails with things that I'm experiencing of late. Just the fact that we're learning, and to take these increasingly complex and severe challenges we're faced with the understanding that this is a learning process, and it's something to be very excited about. Like you said, we're in higher education,
right?
And people who are ducking out or dropping out of school are going to miss the fun. Plus, they're going to get crushed by the avalanche of debris flying around. But it's also fascinating to me when you talk about this subject, because to me, like, how Western society especially has been distanced from their ancestors. They've lost this connection. And what you're doing is not only your ancestors, but like you said, your council of elders. That it's said that when we're born, there's certain beings that were present when we were born. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but that each birthday they reappear, and you can actually have a chat on that day. That's one of the most significant things about birthdays. Esoteric stuff, but what you're delving in is so experiential, and it's also based on very, very good science that's been built up, for decades. And people, I'm sure there's abuse in the field like anything, but when you learn such a respect for the spiritual and for these levels of understanding, but it's clear the way you're speaking, these are very factual understandings to you. These are not, there's nothing fly by night or about it. You see it in very clear terms from repeated experiences. And I know anybody listening is going to be hungry. If they haven't had those types of experiences, they're going to wonder, well, how can I? I know we're going to have your website, sageofquay.com, right?
Right.
If people want to contact you personally, if it's too far away, then maybe you can refer somebody who wants to have this kind of past life regression. And, because it should be with a very responsible, caring individual or
Exactly.
team. I mean, it's the same thing with ayahuasca or any of these entheogens. It should be done very, like almost a ceremonial manner. And I remember I was in one. We were just passing a pipe, and each of us like a talking stick, and we were having a heart sharing in a yurt in Spain. And I forget, but we were out doing like a 1 or 2 word statement. And I remember saying, I think tears were streaming down my face already because it was so touching. I just said yes. I held the pipe and I said yes. I was saying yes to universe. This was when I was going through that realization of the awakening of the warrior spirit. But we're each going to be challenged with that yes to a new and more challenging level continually. I think you'd probably agree with that. You probably see it. What I was going to ask you, leading up to with all this rambling, but you must see people and situations now with completely different eyes, and it must almost be spooky sometimes what you can see in people, or it gives you kind of an X-ray vision. You have that sort of freaky.
Yeah. It's interesting because what I guess it becomes a little, I want to say, disenchanting sometimes, because you can definitely pick up on people where they are so disconnected from the divine. They are so disconnected that essentially they're robotic. They're functioning humanoid robots. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to pick on anybody. But you can see the plane that they're operating on, and it's down here. And once you connect back to spirit, once you understand the true essence of who we are and what we're supposed to be doing with our lives, how we're supposed to be developing our souls, what happens is you're up here. And, a lot of people refer to that as raising the vibration or raising the frequency. That's fine. And so when you're up here and you're looking down at the folks that are operating at lower frequencies, it becomes very disheartening. And it also reminds you that we have a lot of work ahead of us, those of us that are doing this work. And you will burn yourself out, Zen, if you think that you're going to be the one that's going to change it all. We all have a part.
Yeah.
So the way we have to approach this is, if I can touch one person and I can help them make a shift, now there's 2 of us that are going to go out and touch somebody else and make a shift. So it becomes exponential.
Right.
And that's the way we have to look at it.
Yes.
But to answer your question, we do have a lot of work ahead of us. There are a lot of people that are very much disconnected from their spirit. They are disconnected from what it is to be a true human. And we have to try to get them to have that rebirth and recognize and realize who they are and what they're supposed to be doing, and that they are being manipulated. I mean, that's what I see. So when I do my hypnosis work, it's always very fulfilling and very satisfying to me when somebody has a great experience, and I just know that what's going to happen is they're going to leave my office and they're going to have a very different perspective on their life. At the very least, they're going to have a bunch of things that they have to think about, that they have to reflect on, and they have to be introspective about.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than when they came into my office. And hopefully that'll start making some changes for them. But like I said, we have a lot of work ahead of us. This is not an easy fight because the folks that we are battling with, they're pulling out all the stops, and they're going to continue to do what they do 24/7. They're just not going to roll over and say, okay, well, the gig is up. You've got me.
Right.
Everything is going to be benevolent now, and it's all going to be good. We have to win a battle. That's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And you're right, too. We can't carry the world on our shoulders. We each do what we're called to do. That's why, as you know, that's what I write about. That's the title of my book, You Are the Awakening. It's an individual process, which you're doing very individually, one at a time. I say a lot, if you're going to move a mountain, do it one shovelful at a time. And people go, oh, I could never move that mountain. It's too big. Shh, quiet. Start digging.
Right.
Just get busy. If you ever watch leafcutter ants, we have some in our driveway. These guys work incredible hours continually, and they'll strip a tree, they'll strip stuff that's been dumped by the roadside and put it in their little hole there, getting ready for winter here. They just do it one little bitty leaf at a time, one person at a time. They say hi to each other when you watch ants work, and they keep the track and they touch their antenna and move on. That's pretty much what's happening in the awakening. But I think that to have this type of approach, as you're speaking and the way you share it and you speak with such compassion, this is something that people can turn to without feeling like I'm getting into conspiracy stuff. No, the spiritual has to be supreme, and it really should come first. Although a lot of people find it once they get woken up to the exterior shenanigans. But as people get more confused that aren't getting it, they're going to come to you and go, I read about this, or a friend of mine told me, I'm really confused and I don't even know who I am, and I'm getting these dreams, or I've got anxiety attacks or whatever. Can you help me? And and there's people approaching this a lot of ways. There's a lot of Reiki practitioners. The fact that you put the two together, I think, is really brilliant, or whoever put the two together. But it just touches my heart, because this is what it's about. It's the individual, and it's this kind of compassion. Like you were saying, it hurts. Going in public is not easy for me. It hurts when you see people who just don't get it, and they're living horribly unhappy, unfulfilling lives, and they're hunched over, and older couples. They died. They like the expression, died at 30, buried at 60. It's very sad. Yet people like you and I, we use this as fuel to fire up our engines to do what we can do in whatever way we're individually called. Anyway, it's a beautiful story. I'm so glad you shared that, Mike. That's just fabulous. You want to move into your music? You started 14 years old?
Yeah, 14 years old.
I know it's all related. So because without creativity, we're dead in the water. So that's probably what kept you alive all those years, right?
Yeah, it's interesting. That's one of the things that the controllers are taking away, right? They want to take creativity away from the population and imagination and so on. But
right.
Yeah, I've always loved music. And back in the 1980s, I had a band, and we were trying to secure a record deal and even music publishing. But, it was 30 years ago, and eventually what happens is you have to go pay the bills,
Yeah.
And so that's what happened. Yeah. So we were playing, and, one by one, we had to go separate ways. Nobody's fault. It's just that we all had to move on with life. You can't pay your bills with your guitar in many cases. So then what happened, I went on a hiatus for a bit, was doing some recording. My brother had a 4-track studio in his home in Maryland. We were doing Weekend Warrior stuff, and we were recording original music. And it was quite good, for 4 tracks and doing it on a Saturday and Sunday.
Right.
And then it was a long stretch. I want to say really long stretch. It's almost embarrassing to say. Maybe 15 years where I really didn't put a lot of focus into the music. And so something happened in 2011 where I was still playing, and I would play my acoustic or I play my electric at home, but this thought popped into my head and it said, hey, you need to go write an album. So, right. So
not a song, an album.
Yeah, start writing songs and let's do an album. And I started writing the songs, and I bought a Tascam 24-track recorder. It's about this big.
Yeah, it's amazing what they got now. Huh?
Days we had wall-to-wall,
I know.
the studio, right? So this fits on a drafting table, and it's in the table, or on the table, I should say, right next to me. And so all of not all of 2011, the latter part of 2011 and pretty much all of 2012, I was recording this album, and I entitled the CD "Leaving Dystopia." And it was very controversial to some of my friends because the album cover or the album art has a triangle, and it has the all-seeing eye in the middle, right? And
Right.
trying to explain to people that these symbols have go back to the ancient mystery religions, divine magic, and so on. They've been corrupted, right? They're being used for very evil intent today. So what I was doing was saying, I'm leaving dystopia and I'm going to go back to the era or the time of divine connectedness, back to when humanity was humanity. And so I wrote 9 original songs, and I was determined to do a remake of John Lennon's Working Class Hero. So I did Lennon's Working Class Hero. And I put the album out, and it went up live for sale on Amazon and other outlets. I think it was January or February of 2013. So it's been out 3 years now, and I'm in the process of recording a second album.
Wow. There again, you said yes. You get this little voice that says, you need to write an album. What does Mike Williams say? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. It was almost like a feeling of guilt that if I didn't do it, because I have all of these guitars, I have all my equipment, and I was recording earlier on in my life. It's not like I was a novice at it. I knew how to do it. I knew what to do. And then I said, okay, look, I'm going to do this. And I did it. And it was a very, very good feeling, Zen. I'll tell you, to start something like that and finish it and get it. I didn't even care if anybody even bought it or listened to it. I was just happy with the fact that I was able to start it and complete it.
Yeah, that's how I felt about my book. Is I just need to get this done.
Yeah.
I was thinking, boy, if I get sick and for some reason or die for some reason and I don't get that thing out, I'm going to feel just like crap.
Yeah.
And I've got more books I want to do, but it was, I had the same sort of feeling. This has to get done. And it didn't matter, just this has to be done.
Yeah.
It seemed to get delayed over and over, but finally, thanks to Ole, actually, who helped me help lay it out, and a couple of people helped proofread it. But anyway, so you, maybe we could play that song, Leaving Dystopia, because you were telling me I put out that, I forget the name of the article I wrote recently.
It had dystopia in it, and you sent the link out, and I said, oh, I think that I have a song that will he'll like.
Yeah. Can you play it from there and run it through your fancy board or something into the feed?
Yeah. Let me see what I can do here.
Okay.
Let me see. Hold on one second.
Your guitar break is surreal, man. You can do some serious riffs there. It's just beautiful.
Well, actually, on that one, that lead was my brother Al.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. He's a great guitar player, and that was the only track that was not me on the entire album. And he's a phenomenal guitar player.
Great song. And you wrote that in 2011? You're saying 2012?
Yeah, 2011, 2012 time frame. It was one of those moments, and I know everybody's had this, right, where who's in alternative research and, doing the work that we're doing, where you contemplate, you take a step back and you think to yourself, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those melancholy moods where I said, I'm just tired of being tired of all the dysfunction, so we need to step it up.
Yeah, I sent that out to a lot of people, and so many people said, boy, that is so John Lennon-esque. It sounds like you're channeling him. It's got a great sound, the mood, everything about it. I mean, you write music. I've written some music, and the key to a really good song is the music has to go with the words, with the spirit of what's being said. The songs that jar you, that the words don't go with what the sound is, there's no sympathetic vibration to it, and that's dystopic when you have songs that don't match. But when it all gels together into one creative vibration, that's what makes the beauty of art like that. I don't know if you heard it. I did an interview with John Rappaport, one of my early shows, and fabulous man. And the second half, I asked him about his awakening, and his whole thing was through art, similar to like how the music sustained you, the creative, that juice inside of you. Obviously, you were spiritually hungry all your life, and that's why these experiences happened to you. But it was through artwork that he woke up. He just had this hunger to paint. This is back in New York, back in the 60s, or early 60s. And through that, he found his expression, and he awoke via art. And a lot of musicians will say that the same thing, or it can be writing, it can be whatever people's artistic expression is. Some people it's building, or all kinds of things. But like you said, that's the light they're trying to put out.
Right.
It's an anti-creative matrix, and their existence by definition is nothing but mimicry. They can't create anything. That's why the false flags are the same thing over and over. That's why it's always mechanistic. X's and O's, it's, they can't do what we can do. And that's something that really bugs the heck out of them.
Right.
Okay, so now after this happened, we're getting to the stage. It's pretty cool. So when did you get into radio? We've talked a little bit about that, but how did that form of, call it activism or expression, come about?
Well, I got into radio because I didn't want to get into radio. What happened was, I guess earlier on, I'm trying to remember when, 2011, 2012, around there, 2013, I was being asked to come on some radio shows. One of the fellows, a good guy, a really good guy, Bob Charles, would have me on his show, and he wanted me to talk about hypnosis, and he wanted me to talk about past lives and all that stuff. So I loved it. Sure, I'll talk about that stuff, any day. And he either on the phone, he was on the phone. He called me up one day and he said to me, Mike, because he knew about my blog, because I was doing the blog on the side.
Yeah.
Like incognito. Here was, Mike Williams and Imagine Hypnotics. That's the name of my practice, folks. Imagine Hypnotics. You can go there by typing in imaginehypnotics.com.
Imagine or imagine?
Imagine. Like John Lennon's Imagine. Like Lennon's Imagine. Imaginehypnotics.com.
Right.
Yes.
You are channeling, aren't you?
Channeling stuff, yeah. So Bob says to me, and he knew I had the blog, and I was trying to keep them separate because I was like, okay, this is my my hypnosis practice, and here is my conspiracy stuff and my alternative research. And he said, you really should do a show on all the stuff that you have on the blog. And I said to him, I'm not interested. I said, no, I don't want to do that. So he kept asking me. So finally he coerced me into doing it. I guess it was a little over 2 years ago. I did my first show on his network, and it was live, and actually it came out okay considering it was live, but I was so nervous. I was sweating profusely because it was live. I'm thinking to myself, I hope I don't sound like a bumbling idiot.
Really screw up because they can't fix
putting myself out there.
Right.
So but it went okay. And so slowly what happened was I just started to network and build a base of folks that were really very interesting to me, that brought, a lot of intellect and a lot of desire to the table. And you were one of those people. I would read your blog all the time, and, Max Egan, Oli, Henrik, all of these guys, and Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would reach out and I would just ask, would you want to come on my show? And let me just a little plug for two people, because you folks really put the radio show into play and gave it traction. Okay, so the first person, David Icke. I emailed David Icke thinking he's not going to answer this email. There's no way.
Never mind. Come on your show.
Yeah. Hey, you want to come on my radio show? So, and so like about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days later, I get an email response back. He says, sure, I'll come on your show, mate. And I was like, I had to double check. I'm like, seriously, So David did. So I did that show, really, I think one of the first big shows that I did. And I was so nervous then. I was so nervous, and I thought to myself, I've read his books. I watched his, his documentaries and his lectures and so on. And he's a very key component of all of the stuff that I'm into today,
Right.
I mean, I don't agree with David on everything, but let's put it this way. There's a lot of stuff he's brought to the table that he's been vindicated. Okay, folks, he's been vindicated.
Plus his energy and his lack of fear and his willingness to go out there where no one else will go. That's great.
I saw him in Cleveland in November of 2011. It was unbelievable show. And then the other person is Max Egan. I reached out to Max because I would listen to all of Max's podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, loved listening to Max's stuff. And so I sent an email to Max. The same thing. I'm thinking he must get a gazillion emails. Like, hey, again, you want to be on my radio show? And Max got back to me within maybe 2 days and said, sure, I'll come on.
Sure, mate.
So between Max and David, it was a gigantic boost, because when I reached out to other people, they would say, okay, well, I'll think about it. Or I would send them my YouTube channel and they would see that David Icke and Max had been on, and they were more receptive.
Right.
Not that they were being jerks or anything. It's just that, let's face it, there's a lot of radio shows out there where, there's a lack of professionalism and whatever it may be. And people who have done a lot of work and have put a lot of time and effort into their work and into their research, they want to make sure that, that it comes across in a good, right? It has to be professional. So that's how it kind of got started, and it hasn't stopped. It's and now I have like folks that come on regularly, Sophia, yourself, Ole. I love when Ole comes on. It's good because you have a friendship, and with that friendship, what happens is the rapport is very free-flowing. It's very fluid.
Yes, yeah.
You don't have...
You can build on previous conversations too.
Exactly. And you feel very comfortable talking to the person and speaking to them. So those shows tend to be very, very enjoyable, because the listener can pick up on it that these guys or this guy and this gal are having a very good time. They're having a great conversation. So that's how it started 2 years ago.
That's only 2 years.
Yeah, a little over 2 years ago. A lot of shows.
Remarkable. Time is so freaky, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was talking to a dear friend I'm extremely close to, and we were remembering we only met a year ago at AV6 in England, and how much has happened and how knit we've become. And I'll be going back to England soon for to do a few events. But that was a year? Or like when you said 1980 was 30 years ago. I'm going, really?
Yeah. I know.
No, it wasn't.
We're getting old, son.
People ask me when was I in India, and I say, well, 1972. And then I try to start counting the years. Not years, it's decades. Like, so I was there, 72 to 78. It's like, holy cow. Oh, I'm just so you're such a good brother. You can tell the most beautiful thing about, I guess, the connectivity we experience through the internet and being able to contact each other and refer each other to others. And like when you have a real good connection and you find, it's like we're finding our family, someone can tell you, oh, do you know so-and-so? Or have you met this person? Have you heard about this? And we start finding each other. And it's the most beautiful experience, isn't it?
Yep.
It's just beautiful. And look at that. That's the cool thing. I mean, I've only been doing this is like, I think my 10th show. And I was invited many times to have my own show and stuff. I thought, are you kidding me? My days are already maxed. I'm going to be worrying about getting guests and this kind of thing. And I didn't want to be on the radio. I was like you when you did your first show, and I was on my first radio show. It was actually on December 20th, when it rolled over the 21st in 2012. And it was with Vinny Eastwood, who's in New Zealand.
Yeah.
He'd already rolled over, and he said, "Hey, Mike, the world's still here. Let everybody know it's not, the world's not ending." But I was nervous as a cat. But then you just learn to relax, and we're just people, and it's a conversation. So
Exactly.
and that's why people, I think, they're afraid to give it a shot, because they think they got to be something. Well, they don't. They just got to be themselves. And when you're committed to truth, life's a lot simpler.
Exactly.
You don't worry about what you're like. Things take a proper perspective. No.
Well, that's what I tell people. I end my shows by saying live in truth and serve creation. Always serve creation, And you're exactly right. When you live in truth and you're serving creation, then things are a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you're in your natural environment as a soul, as a human. And, you don't have all these pretenses and being nervous about this and what are people going to think and what are they going to say, So, you get past all that stuff and you just be who you are and, just say what you've got to say and be good about it. I mean, don't be nasty or ugly about it and try to have a very constructive, productive conversation with folks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, brother, it's been great having you on. I have to cut it at an hour, supposedly. So.
Oh, not a problem.
I want to have more chats together because there's a lot of neat places that we can talk about that we've talked about before. And but your story is very resonant. And please tell people how they can contact you and your website.
Yeah, the best way to get me with regard to the blog and YouTube is just to go to my hub website, which is Sage of Quay, SAGEOFQUAY, sageofquay.com. And if you're interested in past lives and hypnosis, go to Imagine, like John Lennon's Imagine, imaginehypnotics.com. Those are my two websites.
Great. And they can just contact if they want to get hold of you personally.
Email?
Yeah, if there's one they'll find that on the sites.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Either Sage of Quay or Imagine Hypnotics. There's a email address, and you can get to me with either one. And
you'll answer those emails. You're not too big and important now, too.
Yeah. No, yes.
I always find it funny, people write me, I write them back. They go, "Oh my God, I can't believe you answered. What are you talking about? You wrote me a letter and write me back."
Exactly. So, I will write you back, folks.
With a lot of love. Well, I love you, brother. And folks, don't miss. And also, will they find your music there on the site?
Yeah. If you go to sageofquay.com, I have a little button there to click, and you can go to my music.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that was beautiful. We'll have more music next time. Next time we'll figure out how to get it direct so we get the full sound.
Yeah. Okay.
It was cool. It was very 1960s. Had the real sound to it. Well, let's stay in touch, brother, and all the best. Thank you so much for coming on. It's a real pleasure talking with you. I really appreciate it.
All right, and same here, my friend.
Okay, Bye-bye. Lots of love. We'll talk soon. That's the amazing Mike Williams of Sage of Quay Radio. Go to his channel. He's got wonderful interviews that he's put up, and do listen to his music. And beautiful man, as you can tell, and a real honor to speak with him. And stay tuned. We got some really neat guests coming up real soon. Some people who you're familiar with, who've never been on radio or even on video before. They've been behind the scenes researchers that you're familiar with, and that's going to be fun to meet those kind of people. I'm trying to pull some of these wonderful people out. So stay tuned. And again, if you want to go to my website, it's zengardner.com, and there's a button at the top for My book, You Are the Awakening, it's getting 5-star reviews only on Amazon and going out like hotcakes. I'm very excited about it. It's a tool you can use to help others. Leave it on your table at home. Buy it for someone that who you know is starting to wake up and can get something really super out of it, and they'll pass it on. It's a tool, but I hope people will take advantage of it. And much love. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into CCN. This unique network is dedicated to free and independent media. CCN was created with the belief that information is the common heritage of all beings, which is why our live stream high-definition broadcast is easily accessible and free to view. If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Having produced over 1,000 shows in 2015, which are all archived on YouTube, we look forward to bringing you more groundbreaking, cutting-edge information in 2016. For more information on what is on, please check out our broadcast guide for weekly updates. CCN broadcasts in multiple languages and features some key voices of our challenging times who are all in pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world. CCN belongs to you, the people, and it is up to you all to keep this network on the air. Please contribute to the Network Support Fund or visit the CCN shop. We thank you all for supporting free and independent media.